going on, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the ABQJournal, and this is the ABQJournal. It is an NIT game. The Lobos are still playing basketball, and I'm joined, as I have been pretty much most of the season, pregame in the pit with Coach Waterman. Coach, how you doing?
Great, Jeff. Good to be playing in March. Different tournament than we would have liked to be playing in, but I think we talked this week with our guys about valuing the opportunity that there's 250 teams in college basketball sitting here at home right now that would be dying to take this opportunity on that we have. So our guys have had a good couple of days of practice. Our mindset go 1-0 today, and hopefully in 2.5 weeks we're going to be playing in Indianapolis.
I do want to touch on the whether or not to play in the NIT. I do get that. Look, there was a game here a few years ago, before your time, before anybody's here time, when the Lobos had a pretty good little roster and showed up and kind of got. It ended up being a 15-point home loss to Utah Valley that probably wasn't even quite that close. And they just looked tired. They looked uninspired. They didn't look ready to play. Forget whether or not a player should be that way. Some fans think, oh my goodness, as I'm spitting everywhere. Oh my goodness, how could you not want to play, you know? Forget that part of it. The reality is that does happen to some teams.
Yeah.
How much of a worry or concern was that for you guys before you sat down with the team on Sunday?
Well, we know we have a really high-character group. I think that's been one of the testaments to the players Coach Olin brought in, that these guys are high character. They love the game of basketball. They're competitors, and there was going to be there was never really a doubt that we were going to play. I think we did talk with a few of the guys just to make sure, physically we were up to it. Obviously, there's a letdown when you have that's human nature letdown when you lose the way we did in the semifinals and then didn't hear your name called on Selection Sunday. That you had to come over a little bit, but it hasn't impacted this team at all. We came in Monday morning, we had a meeting, and Coach explained the situation, and we came out and had a great practice afterwards. And I wouldn't expect to see that type of letdown at all.
I know that obviously you talk about the letdown from last Friday night in Las Vegas. A lot of fans were there. But by the way, what you think of Pitt West, and how many Lobo fans actually do show up to a neutral court tournament in another state? What do you think of that?
That was awesome. It just shows how special this place is basketball-wise. And people talk about it, but you don't know it until you experience it. We walked out, and it's literally 6,000 fans on that Thursday night against San Jose State. That was pretty cool.
So it wasn't just a letdown of Friday night losing to San Diego State. I would say it was a little bit more than that. I mean, basically since the end of January, you guys were a team playing on the bubble. Everybody was talking about the bubble. Everyone was talking about how close you guys were to getting to where you want to go. You guys go all the way to the last game of the regular season playing for a piece of the championship. You get into the semifinals against the rival, the program's rival for a long time, San Diego State. At every turn, you guys had a high-stakes game and a high-emotions game, and it wasn't just one game at the end that you lost. That, oh, okay, get over it. It was a series of high emotion for a month.
Yeah.
I would understand if they just weren't into it and didn't feel it, but I also think this bunch probably doesn't have. I don't want to compare players too much, but this seems to be a proven kind of squad, right? This kind of seems to be a team that is been doubted a lot. Got a little hair on that. They've been doubted so much. You got a Luke Hop who nobody thought was going to come to the D2 and be as good as he is. You got a Jake Hall who was doubted and became freshman of the year. It's a bunch of guys that probably feel like, no, we can still play and prove a lot. So it wasn't as much. They were let down. I know they were, but it wasn't as much oh, we don't even want to play. This is beneath us. They still have stuff to prove, I think.
Yeah. And it goes along to, I talked about character, but also we're a team. I think you can look at this, and yes, Jake and Thomas Law have gotten some accolades, but that comes with team. And there's no one guy I think we've seen all year that's where you look at the box score night after night, he's dominating the box score. And we've got different guys throughout the year to step up in different roles. And again, credit to our staff for enforcing that team, and I think that team's thought process, and that's again another reason why we're here tonight.
All right, let's talk about them a little bit.
Yeah.
they are a good team. I think people need to know that, first of all. They may see a name like Sam Houston, didn't win the Conference USA, but you got to understand this is a team that's in the top half of every metric. They're 120, 111, I think, maybe in the net, maybe right outside the top 100. This is a team on pace, metrically on par with maybe a Wyoming-ish or UNLV-ish team right now. And I think that should maybe give you an idea that they can beat you.
Yes.
If you guys aren't ready, they can beat you.
Yeah, and they have some really good players. Walker, the point guard, was the sixth man of the year in the conference. Starting now with they've had several injuries throughout the year, but he's a really shifty guard that can really score. The big guy, Illich, is a load inside. And then, number 35, King, who's their off-conference player, not 100% sure what his status is.
Yeah, he had a back injury.
Yeah, he's got some back spasms. He hadn't played in the conference tournament. We hear he's 50-50 for tonight, but he can really shoot it.
He's got the best name that you guys have played against all year.
Yeah,
Boy King.
Yeah, so no, they're a very formidable opponent. Like you said, they're a middle of the pack Mountain West Conference team, and if you go into this type of tournament, and it's probably one of the better fields that NIT has had in the last few years across the board. So to get to our goal of playing in Indianapolis, we're going to have to play some good teams, and that's what we're made for.
Their defensive guy, they got a 6'3" guard who's averaging like 8 rebounds a game, right?
Yes.
So how is he doing that? Is he just a freakishly good rebounder, or is it some sort of scheme that allows the 6'3" guard to be so successful? Like how is he successful rebounding in a game that isn't meant for 6'3" guys to average 8 rebounds a game?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, across our full body of work this year in terms of teams we've played, he may be the most athletic guy that we've played with.
Wow, okay.
And that's saying something. But he is a freak athlete. I think being undersized, he gets matched up with a lot of guards, which allows him to go crash. But he plays above the rim, and we're going to have to do a great job. We spent, our scout talking about it, make sure we're making contact, blocking him out, and finding him. And then defensively, he can get it and push it. So we have to do a good job with what we call tagging when he gets a rebound, being up into him. That's fast break.
Now, he averages 10 points a game, so it's not like he's just doing the rebounding. I am curious how much of an offensive threat, though, he is. They have 4 or 5 guys that average about 10 points. So is he an offensive threat, or is the focus of him just to keep him off the board?
Yeah, he's a penetration threat for sure. I wouldn't say he's what we call a time and space 3-point shooter. He's not going to just get it, jack it like Jake Hall would. But he's a threat. He's a college basketball player. I say that he'll probably go for 15, 18 points now against us. But no, he's a very formidable offensive player as well. I wouldn't say he's probably of their top scorers. He's probably towards the bottom of that list. Yeah. But he's a guy that can have success if we don't do our job on the defensive end.
Is a lot of his rebounds on the offensive glass? Because they're a really good offensive rebounding team.
Yeah. So I know against New Mexico State in the quarterfinals of the CSU tournament, he had 9 offensive rebounds. So he can do some damage there. I know he averages, I think, 8 defensive rebounds. Okay. But he can do work on the offensive glass as well.
Why are they so good on the offensive glass? And does that give you guys an opening to leak out and get out in transition?
Yes, you must have been at our team meeting. So obviously if they crash hard, if we can get the rebound, we talked about being really aggressive and looking to push the ball out in transition, and then just making sure that we're making contact as the shot goes up.
I am curious, as far as getting out in transition, you guys want to do that anyway. Is there something you guys add to when you have a team that is so aggressive on the offensive glass? Is there something you guys change, or just tell them to sort of be more aware than normal that the possibility of that is there? Or is there something schematically you actually change?
No, and especially at this point in the season, there's nothing that we're going to change. Yeah. We have to stick to our principles. It's basically we found out Sunday night. So our practice Monday, we had a basis of what we need to do, but at this point in the season, you have to stick with your principles and do it to the best of your ability. And to be honest, if we do our job, we've been pretty good rebounding team all year, so I don't think that'll be a problem. And Thomas Loft, JT, when they're in there, can dominate the boards. That'll be a big thing for us.
I got to tell you, we are through the regular season. We're through the Mountain West tournament. We are now in a win or go home kind of scenario. We're in March, and if you would have told me in March you guys would be a good defensive or a good rebounding team, defensive primarily, but like Thomas Loft's great offensive rebound. If you guys would have told me that your biggest weakness wasn't going to be rebounding, I would have been shocked. I thought you guys were Thomas Loft was a great rebounder, and nobody else was going to help. And you guys have clearly shown that I was wrong, but I imagine that took a little bit though, like to get Jake Hall, to get all the guards convinced that, look, it might only be 3 a game, but you better get your 3 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of had to chip in there. Nate Hallberg, your point guard's averaging like 3.5 or 3.8, I think, rebounds. So it really was a team effort on the boards, and I'm curious if you thought that going into the season, if you knew you guys would be a decent rebounding team.
Shocks me. Shocks me. No, he. Coach, and again, it shows to you're only good as what you emphasize. And I think that Coach realized that one of our weaknesses is just the physicality. If you look at our team against many of the other teams, against the Mountain West or the higher level teams that play this year, we are physically at a disadvantage. So we spend a lot of time doing live rebounding into transition defense, transition offense throughout the year, and it's paid off.
Got a question here asking if this is Eric Owen's first time coaching in the NIT. I believe it is.
It is. He visited the CBI 1 year and then the NCAA tournament.
And the CBI, so last year was the first year they were eligible for either the NIT or NCAA tournament.
Correct.
And they made the NCAA tournament. Prior to that, though, they were, as you pointed out, the CBI.
Yeah.
Michael Wilder, Mike Roberts have both been in the NIT. First NIT for you?
First NIT. I've been in the CBI.
And you've been in the CBI.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, again, it's not March Madness, but it is March basketball. It is win or go home at this point. Why treat it any different than March Madness once you're at this point? Are there some nerves?
I think so. I think there's nerves, and I think, we're competitors, and we know that if we can win 3 games, you can play Indianapolis in Final Four weekend, and that's a pretty cool opportunity. And I think our guys found that out. They kind of embraced this even more. Not saying that they didn't before, but it gives you something. And being that maybe not tonight, but Sunday, if we take care of business tonight, it's going to be on ESPN Network. It's another opportunity to showcase.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, exactly, and for the retention within our program that we want, again, a couple more practices, a couple more game opportunities, and if you look at programs like Santa Clara, there was somebody else that we talked about, like they went to the NIT, and now next year they go to the NCAA tournament.
The real good success story from last year was in the Crown, where Nebraska won the Crown.
Yeah.
And they're okay this year.
Yeah, they were okay.
Still in depression.
You're going to have to get over it. All right, so as far as what we can expect out of your team tonight, anything different? I know it's sort of you got to this point, why change it up now? But we did see a change in the starting lineup, which I thought was remarkable in how it came about. I thought Eric was clearly he had his players back mode. Everybody saw that Antonio Joel had been struggling, but he didn't make the decision. The player brought it to him, and the players. The player himself, not players, plural, Antonio came to him and said, hey, let's do this, which I thought was awesome. My guess is Antonio Cho would still be starting had he not done that, because I don't think Eric was going to, he might have altered the minutes, but I don't think Eric was going to make that change at this point. But Antonio did, which kind of tells you something about both him and the team in general, I would say.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you that he did that?
Well,
that Antonio did that?
I think that he realized Antonio was really self-aware. Yeah. He knew he wasn't playing his best basketball, and he put the team ahead of himself. And hey, you can't ask for anything more than that.
Not only did he put the team ahead of himself, he ended up hitting a whole lot of good shots in that San Jose State game. He scored as well in the San Diego State game. I thought he played just fine in Vegas, coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Gets to see a little different perspective, but some other things that obviously are on the horizon, as I'll let you head up here in just a second.
Perfect.
Jake is on an all-time freshman kind of heater this season. He can climb the all-time freshman three-point charts. We got Tomislav. He has some program rebounding records. I think what's been great about them is neither one of them have been chasing. You know I made a little joke with Tomislav last week about offensive rebounds. I happened to make the stupid joke in the game. He missed one shot, but he was like, I was making a joke about last San Diego State game here in the pit. I thought he missed some on purpose. I was joking, of course, but just to kind of pad those offensive rebound numbers. But I don't think you guys have been chasing stats all year, and I think two of them are in a good position to finish pretty high. What do you think about chasing the stats?
I don't think it's been. To be honest, I don't think they even realize it.
Yeah.
I think. So Steve will come in one day and have a myriad of things that we're doing, and everybody's like, okay, cool. Didn't even know that was in play. So we're definitely not chasing stats by any means. We're chasing wins, and unfortunately we would have loved to have had 2 or 3 more during the course of the season and be playing not in the pit tonight, a neutral site game in the NCAA tournament. But, we're going to continue to grow, and Coach Olin's got this program in the right position, and the best is yet to come, for sure.
Christy is asking on YouTube real quick, and I'll throw this at you. She said, who will be the most effective tonight based on matchup, or a little more general? Are there any interesting matchups that we should watch based on who they are, based on who you guys are?
I think, if King plays, that'll be a real interesting match. Boy King. We have to do a great job guarding him, and not only doing a great job contesting shots. And then you kind of touched upon it, making sure we neutralize Nat on the offensive glass.
Sounds good to me. Anything else you want to add about this time of year, like the opportunity ahead? Or at this point, I imagine you guys are trying to make this as normal as possible.
Yeah, it's a normal game. Nothing changed during the week. Our goal is to be 1-0 today, and hopefully have a chance to play against Sunday in the pit against another really good team.
Sometimes you guys can be really boring. You know that, right? You guys don't ever tell me like, yeah, this game means it all. You guys do it the right way. You guys are nice. Slow and steady wins the race, and hopefully you guys are slow and steady for 5 more games.
Yep, perfect. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
Hopefully see you Sunday.
All right.
Thank you.
There you go. There's a little breakdown from the inside the locker room, from the inside the scouting report anyway. And let me flip this around. You will see that nobody is actually on the court right now. Warming up. But anyway, thank you to Scott Waterman for this and all the games he has joined us this season. There we go. We got John on YouTube. John Romero, many thanks on YouTube, is saying many thanks, Mr. GG, the Journal, and Sandia Sportsbook for your extended coverage the entire season. Sincerest, muchas gracias. I appreciate you, John, and everybody that is on this show watching all these shows. We got what is the theory related to the Lobos poor free throw shooting? I can tell you that I talked with multiple coaches about this, and to a man, there is not a coach I've spoken with that says that seems to have any idea what is going on. I will also say they aren't even the worst in the Mountain West. There's 3 teams worse than them during league play in free throw shooting. It sure didn't look the part, Friday night in Las Vegas when they lost to San Diego State, of course. I would tell you, San Diego State, they came out on top, so it wasn't as big a story. They were just as bad. In fact, the night before, when they beat Colorado State, they were even worse. They missed 20 free throws. So I think they were 22 of 42. Or 22 of 40. So they missed 18 free throws is what they missed against Colorado State, I believe is what it was. I didn't even know the NIT is older than the NCAA. That is right, Eddie. It is the NIT used to be the tournament, not the NCAA tournament. The NIT used to be the national championship. Then it kind of split into a preseason/postseason event that sort of lowered the postseason's luster and shine, whatever you want to say, and the NCAA tournament kind of grew into what it is now, which is the biggest college sporting event in the world. I know the Bowl Championship Series may have one-offs. A college football championship may have a one-off game that is huge in its viewership and just billions of dollars and millions of eyeballs on it. But in terms of the entirety of March Madness of the NCAA tournament, it is a multi-billion-dollar institution event now for a reason. So it grew past the NIT, but you're right. The NIT used to be the thing. I'm going to give you a quick rundown here. I'm just going to pull up ESPN, which uses DraftKings. So let's give you some DraftKings lines tonight for the NIT games. Right now, your UNM Lobos are favored in the first round against Sam Houston. Don't call me State Bearkats. They're just Sam Houston for their athletic department. Their university is Sam Houston State University, but athletics asks that you only call them Sam Houston, and it is Bearkats with a K. UNM favored by 11.5 tonight in the pit. We got Navy and Wake Forest in the second half. That is a Wake Forest team that is a 1 seed, just like the Lobos are. Last night, both 1 seeds won. Tulsa and Auburn were the 2 other 1 seeds. Tulsa had to come from behind to beat Stephen F. Austin. These NIT games aren't easy. Just because you see a team from the Southland or from Conference USA or something like that, don't write them off. Like, these guys are ready to prove something, whereas some of these 1 seeds may be thinking, man, we blew it. We wanted the NCAA tournament or bust, and maybe they aren't in the right headspace. Well, we're about to find out. We're 30 minutes away from finding out if the Lobos are in the right headspace for that. But right now, Wake Forest 54-50 over Navy in their side of the bracket. You got Illinois State over Kent State 28-18, and Utah Valley is trailing George Washington 27-18. The winner of that game plays the winner of this game. So Utah Valley, which in 2023 really thumped the Lobos here in the pit. That was a Mark Madsen coached Utah Valley team, and Lobo team with Morris Udeze, Josiah Alec, Donovan Dent, Jalen House. Donovan Dent is a freshman, by the way. Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn Jr. That squad, and KJ Jenkins coming off the bench. That squad got beat up pretty good by Utah Valley because they didn't want to play. They wouldn't admit it at the time. They may not admit it now. They may just tell you they were tired. They did not look interested in playing that night, and it showed in the final score, just being a 15-point home loss, but probably could have been worse, frankly. The Lobos lost at home in the pit to that Utah Valley team, which is trailing right now to George Washington 27-18. The winner of that plays the winner of this game. If the Lobos win, it will be a game in the pit on Sunday. 99% sure of that. Officially, we don't know until after the game tonight where the next round game will be. UNM had to put in its availability for the pit for a reason, and their availability is Sunday. So, Sunday in the pit. Now, the third round, if the Lobos keep winning, UNM cannot host the third round. There will not be another Albuquerque location where they host it. It will not be at the event center in Rio Rancho. It will not be at Johnson Gym. Logistically, they cannot do that. Safety-wise, they cannot do that. They cannot house that many fans. Tonight, I'm expecting them. I know they're over 6,000. I don't know that they'll hit 7,000. I think they're expecting to hit 7,000. While Lobo fan, I'm already anticipating you guys complaining and groaning about that. I will tell you the number 1 attended game in the NIT last night in the first round of games was 3,100 fans. UNM will probably double the second best NIT home crowd. That was a Wichita State game against Wyoming, by the way, 3,100. So, yeah, it's all relative, right? I know Lobo fans can find something to complain about with the best of them, and I know that will be one of them when you guys see the attendance at like 7,000. Relative to the rest of the NIT, it's probably going to be double any other program. That includes an Auburn team that is an SEC squad and a 1 seed. They had 2,100 fans last night. Tulsa had like 21. So, yeah, we're looking at probably in the 6,000 to 7,000 range, and it is what it is. The other Mountain West teams, Juicy One in Reno, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific time. You got Murray State at Nevada in the NIT. And Murray State is coached by Ryan Miller, the former UNM Lobo assistant coach. He's the guy responsible for getting the air. Partly responsible. I would tell you primarily responsible. Ultimately, the head coach and associate head coach had an awful lot to do with it, I understand. But Ryan Miller's really the guy that was behind the recruiting of guys like anyone from Kendall Williams to Alex Kirk to Cameron Barstow to Hugh Greenwood. Like that little era right there, Ryan Miller was a piece of all that. He left before those guys really hit their stride with the Lobos. Playing-wise, but Rhino is the guy that was behind a lot of that recruiting of that heyday, that great run that Steve Alford had with the Lobos. He is now the head coach. His first year as a head coach. He finally got a job as a head coach, and he is now the head coach at Murray State. One of his assistant coaches, former Lobo Cullen Neal, is playing at Reno tonight against Nevada, Steve Alford, and his dad, Craig Neal, of course. So you got assistant coach Craig Neal against assistant coach Cullen Neal. You got Ryan Miller as the head coach of Murray State. Steve Alford is the head coach of Nevada. And the winner of that game plays Liberty, who is head coached by Richie McKay, who Steve Alford and Craig Neal replaced here in the pit, here in Albuquerque at UNM in 2007. So nice little storylines on that side of the bracket. On the other side of this quadrant of the bracket, we already told you that the Utah Valley George Washington. I think I said George Mason earlier. I apologize. It's George Washington. Winner will play the winner of this UNM Lobo Sam Houston Bearkats game. But on the other side of the quadrant in the same area, this is talking about who might be in that third round game against the winner of this game and next round. We're talking St. Joe's is at Moby Arena in Fort Collins tonight against Mountain West foe Colorado State. And then you got University of Illinois Chicago at California. Cal is coached by Mark Madsen, who coached that Utah Valley team in 2023 that beat the Lobos here in the pit. Nevada is favored by 8.5 at home against Murray State. Colorado State favored by 5.5 against St. Joe's. And then again, your Lobos are favored by 11.5 against Sam Houston. The Lobos are back out on the court. They'll be doing some warming up as I wrap up our pregame show, the ABQJournal Sports Live. Pregame from the pit, sponsored by Sandia Sportsbook. Thank you very much to Sandia Sportsbook for hosting or sponsoring, rather, this pregame show, our weekly show that Sean Ryder and I do, and for hosting all the all the podcasts that Sean and I do. Ryder's blog has a lot of good football content, and then my Talking Grammar, I had one last week with JT Rock that got some really good feedback. Please take a look at it if you can on the Journal's YouTube channel, or you can listen to it wherever you download your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, which is formerly known as iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that good stuff. Brian is in on YouTube. Let Sam Houston fill the altitude. There you go. What is the attendance? They don't announce attendance until they're done selling tickets at halftime. So announced official attendance won't be named until after that. It will be in the 6,000 range. They're hopeful that they get to 7,000. And my guess is they'll get close to 7,000. And it'll be the highest attended NIT game in the country for the first round. And it will not please Lobo fans, though. I know that. And that's okay. Standards are high. Do you know why they moved the finals of the NIT from New York City to Indianapolis? So Indianapolis is where the Final Four is this year. They want all the coaches, all the programs to be the Final Four every year. The NCAA Division I Final Four is basically the largest coaching convention and networking opportunity in the country. They want all those coaches to be around, right? They want it to be a basketball week. So Friday of the weekend of the Final Four in Indianapolis is Lucas Oil Field is where the Final Four and the national championship game will be of the NCAA tournament. Friday will be where the semifinals of the NIT will be held in Hinkle Fieldhouse, Butler's Stadium, but historic Hinkle Fieldhouse will be where the semifinals on Friday of that weekend are. The Saturday games at Lucas Oil Field will be the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, the national semifinals there. The Sunday will be the Division III national title game, NCAA Division III national championship game, followed by the Division II national championship game, followed by the NIT national championship game rather. So it'll be a triple header. That will be in the Pacers Stadium. I'm blanking again. I apologize on what the Pacers Arena is called, but all in the Indianapolis area. They want them all to be in the same place. They want them to experience kind of one big basketball week all in the same place where everybody is anyway. I would tell you that I don't think attendance at Madison Square Garden was exactly killing it for the NIT. It is hard. It is expensive to get a whole lot of fans at that place. I will tell you that basketball junkies that are going to Indianapolis for the Final Four have neutral fans, I'm talking, have a little more likelihood of being in Indianapolis anyway, and maybe going to one of these games, and attendance could be better. But also, scouts are there. Other coaches are there. This is where college basketball, center of the college basketball world is in Indianapolis here in a few weeks. And that is why the NIT is there as well. John Romero's in on YouTube. The chairback seats for tonight's ballgame were all gone in an instant. That's a good sign. David Thompson's in on YouTube. Hey, Jeff, how are you? What are your thoughts about Jake Hall really turning it on tonight? He could. I mean, he had a horrible game Friday night, so I would be shocked if he had back-to-back horrible games. If they guard him, and Cashy Nat will probably guard him most of the night. He's the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. He's the second team all-conference or all-district player, and I think he was third team or maybe honorable mention in the Conference USA. But anyway, he is the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. He will probably shadow Jake all night, and if that happens, then somebody else is going to have to step up. It can't be Jake Hall or nobody. And against San Diego State, it was Jake Hall and, 1 for 10 shooting. It was what it was. So that's high-level analysis there for you folks. Dayton Albury, I thought, stepped up really nicely. There were a couple other guys that did as well, but Jake Hall's going to get that treatment every game. I would tell you, and Scott Waterman told you in the pregame, that Cassie Knapp might be the most athletic player they faced all year. So it's going to be hard if that is the assignment. If it is a man-on-man assignment, and Jake Hall gets Cassie Knapp on him all night, it will be hard for Jake Hall to go off tonight. Maybe he gets him in foul trouble. Maybe the Lobos have something schemed up where you're still trying to get Jake opened up. But I would also tell you that there's a good opportunity for any team that takes their best defensive player to try and take away the Lobos' best offensive player. The Lobos playing 4-on-4, I think would welcome that and take a 4-on-4 opportunity. It's what UNLV kind of did last night with Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. UC Irvine went with a diamond and 1 and basically tried to take DGL out of the game all night. That's the Mountain West leading scorer, and it worked towards the end, but UNLV already had built up too much of a lead by having everybody else beat them up. So UNLV did win. They advanced in the NIT in last night's game in a road win over UC Irvine, and it was with UC Irvine, a great defensive team in UC Irvine, throwing all their eggs in the let's stop Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn basket. If Sam Houston does that tonight against Jake Hall, I think the Lobos would, while they would love to see Jake Hall go off, of course, I think they would welcome the opportunity to say, we'll still take our chances with our other 4 beating you up, and we'll see if it happens. Desert Lobo is in on YouTube. What season did you start covering UNM athletics? For the Journal, I'll say for the Journal, I did some before that, but for the Journal, it was the 2012-13 season. Steve Alford was here, and August of 2012 is when I started at the Albuquerque Journal. What would you expect attendance to look like tonight? 6,000 to 7,000. John Romero's in on YouTube. I wonder if both Boston College and Arizona athletic directors will be tuned in for tonight's game. They could be. I can't imagine either one of them are basing their decision on Eric Olin, who's not either one of their lead candidates or the lead candidate in either scenario. But I don't think they're basing anything on whether or not Eric Olin coaches well in this NIT game, because there are so many variables in this game. Players not being motivated, players being motivated. I don't know. It's just they have their scouting report. They got the film. They know what they need to look for, and now it's just basically about getting money right and getting offers right. And will they be tuned in? Sure. I'm sure they will be. But I don't think they're basing a decision off of how the Lobos do tonight. Team is in on YouTube. How far ahead of the rest of the league do you anticipate the team to be next year in terms of NIL and rev share? I don't expect them to be ahead of. I don't think UNM is going to lead the new Mountain West in NIL. I think Grand Canyon is going to lead. I think UNLV will catch up and be right there with them. I think it'll be a 3-team NIL race between UNM, UNLV, and Grand Canyon. I do not expect UNM to have more NIL money than Grand Canyon, who doesn't have to share a penny they bring into their athletics department with any football team. And they have a lot of good private donors too. So I would tell you Grand Canyon's going to be number 1 in NIL, well over $3 million I would anticipate next year, probably more like $4 million. I think the Lobos have overly optimistic, but optimistic, lofty expectations of getting their NIL to $5 million. I would say that's probably going to be more in the $3 to $4 million range for basketball. But we shall see, right? And UNLV, if they can keep Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, they're going to open up the bank and have a pretty high NIL, but Traven Jones and Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn are going to cost a pretty penny. You got to put a roster around those guys too, so you can't just pay them every dollar you have in NIL money. But man, that'd be a hell of a start if UNLV kept both of those guys. I don't anticipate they will. Why no WNIT for the Lady Lobos? The Desert Lobo asked. A couple reasons. They weren't very good this year, the Lady Lobos. They weren't good enough to guarantee they would host. It costs money. The WNIT is not like the NIT in men's basketball now, where you get to host and it doesn't cost you money. UNM wasn't gonna pay a bunch of money for the women's team to go to another WNIT. It has been financially speaking, a losing proposition for UNM every time they've done it, and it's just the WNIT isn't the same in women's basketball as the NIT is in men. The WNIT is a for-profit entity and not run by the NCAA, whereas the NIT is. So there was never a chance of that really happening. All right, dog. Is this dog and dog? Yeah, dog and dog 11. Will there be any potential scheduling issues with the pit should the Lobos continue to advance in the NIT? That is correct. There will be. So I've had it in a couple articles. Last week was the first time I reported the availability of the pit was after their Utah State game in the Monday Journal of last week, I put all the scheduling availability before the Mountain West tournament, all the scheduling availability, and this is basically what it is. First round, either last night or tonight, the pit was available. Second round, the dates for the NIT are Saturday and Sunday. Because of the state spirit competition, the pit was only going to be open on Sunday no matter what. They've already rented this facility out for Friday and Saturday to the NMAA. Now, the logistical problem there is that includes the Davalos Center. They do not have a practice facility. If they win tonight, they will have to find somewhere else in town to practice. Now, that might be Johnson Gym. That might be a local high school, but the Davalos Center is part of the facility's rental agreement with the New Mexico Activities Association for the state spirit competition on Friday and Saturday. So the Lobos will not have use of their practice facility or the pit for a game come Friday. They will have everything available to them on Sunday. And should they win tonight, the expectation is they will be hosting a game on Sunday in the pit. And then, the third round is also a host, higher bid, higher seed team host the game kind of scenario. It will not be, however, for the Lobos. While they are the one seed in their bracket, third round game will have to be on the road because the Ty Murray Invitational PBR bull riding event is basically already dumping their dirt onto the pit floor by next Tuesday. So next week there will not be a third round game in the pit, even if the Lobos keep winning. And then from that point on, rounds 4 and 5, those are both semifinals and finals of the NIT, and that is where you will see the Indianapolis games. All right, I'm going to scroll through the quick. These we're 12 minutes away. Could you see Danny Granger make a visit in Indy? He lives in Phoenix, so I don't know. He could, I suppose. But, he lives in Arizona. Gamebridge Fieldhouse is the arena. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. That is Gamebridge Fieldhouse, the Indiana Pacers. If Olin leaves, who do you see UNM hiring? No idea. I'm not playing that game on a pregame show. What's your thoughts of awarding the winner of the NIT an automatic entry to the following year in a NCAA tournament? I hate it. Teams aren't the same from year to year, so I don't like that idea at all. That is CI Aggie Sports on X that said that or asked that. Cheesy Tots on YouTube is asking, will the Lobos play again at the pit if they win tonight? They will on Sunday. And Frankie and Faye is asking on YouTube, any news on the 2 international bigs potentially signing with UNM? They have not signed with UNM. They will do so after the season and after we see who the Lobo coaching staff is and who the Lobo players are and the NIL money and all that stuff. So there you go. Real quick, Reed Cherry and Silver, is there any money to be gained in the NIT? $5,000 around. Nothing that you're going to make a lot of money on. I'm signing off. We're doing the national anthem now. I'm signing off now. Thank you, guys. 10 minutes, 11 minutes to tip off in the pit. Thank you, guys.